Let's rock. Let's have some fun. I say 5 minutes. I'll try to keep it under 12. Hobby with Cage brought to you today by Bleecker Trading and Arena Club. I'll try to get those names right. Every once in a while, I mess it up. Obviously, the title, behind the scenes of a bull market, or is it really a bull market? We're having some fun today. Just my thoughts. I did an episode recently about how I thought some of the high-end cards were being bought by repackers. I pointed to an auction that ended with a National Treasures auto of Messi that's over $48,000, a card that was available a month prior at the Soccer Expo, and every soccer person had a chance at it for 25 or best offer. It was offered to me for less than half of what it sold for in Golden Auction. And, my thought was, this is, it's probably being bought by a repacker because it's Messi, it's National Treasures, and now it has a public comp, right? It has a public comp, and all right, maybe we'll see. I'll have to watch for that card. I can't watch every repack. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I don't know where that card actually ended up. But I was watching a card that ended in gold at September 4th, and it was a Tom Brady laundry tag sticker auto, 2009 Topps, 1 of 1. And I saw it pop up in a repack. The card sold in December of 2024, so 9 months ago, sold for $13,000. It sold on September 4th for $32,000. I'm rounding. And it wound up in a repack a week later. So it got shipped, it got put in a repack, it got, set up and on a show and hit by a repacker, days later. And it makes sense to me, right? That, repackers want to have these public comps. This way they can say, all right, guys, your buy-in to this is, we have 50 repacks. The buy-in is, $2,000 each. That's $100,000. But don't worry, we got a $32,000 card, which really was a $13,000 card that I'm sure has gone up. I was hoping to get it for 18, 20, not 32. But if it's a public comp, boom, now you have, but is it really? You know what I mean? So I started thinking about what else might be going on behind the scenes, to have this market kind of rip. And what is a ripping market or bull market? It's we see these comps, right? We see these prices. We see these record prices being paid. And don't get me wrong, I think people are paying for these. Even the repacker probably paid that price for that car because they're still going to make money on that repack. And I'm sure that there are collectors out there. But let's talk about one little fun thing that I'm sure happens out there. Let's use the Messi 71 Biz, the mega cracks from 2004 as a great example, right? And there are people who are buying these cars. Jeremy Padower, a friend of mine, a friend of the show, has been a guest a bunch of times. I call him the Alec Baldwin of the show, right? He was on more times than anybody. Love the guy. But he posted that he just paid $48,000 or 40-something thousand dollars for a PSA 8 Mega Cracks Messi. And he feels like it was a bargain. Why? Because one of the PSA 10s just sold for $1.5 million. Okay. Let's walk through this. I'm not saying this happens, but just saying it could. All right. That's a card there are a lot of. It's not a 1 of 1. It's not something that's just, there are a lot of those cards in various grades. So let's just say a couple people get together and say, we're going to buy up a bunch of the PSA 9s. And we're going to buy up, I don't know, there's 50 of them. We're going to buy 10 of them. And we're going to, average out at like $30,000, $35,000 each. Now they've paid $350,000 and they have 10 of those PSA 9s. And they say, we're also going to buy up all the lower grades, all the BGSs, which please, guys, don't buy. There's a bunch of reasons for it. I mean, be careful buying it is what I should say. There's a bunch of reasons for those BGS. But let's buy the BGS 6s, the 5s. Let's buy all the PSA 4s, 5s, 6s. Let's buy a bunch of them. Because PSA 4s and 5s were $1,000, $1,500 last summer. They were like nothing. But let's buy them up. Let's have a horde of them. Spend a couple $100,000 on them between a couple people. We got a group buying these and sort of protecting the 8s and the 9s and buying them. Okay, great. Hypothetically, now all it takes is a couple of sales on the top. Hell, they could be selling them to each other. And we'll talk about that in a second. Because when you see the headline sale of private sale, $825,000, private sale, $1 million, private sale. Now, I'm not saying they're not paid for. They probably are paid for. Okay. And everything's above board and great, right? But once you see that, what happens? BGS 9.5s of this card, when the PSA 9s were selling in the 40s and 50s, you couldn't get 25, 30, 35,000 for a BGS 9.5. Now BGS 9.5s are selling for $140,000, $150,000. PSA 8s are 3 or 4 times what they were before. It's very easy to hypothetically manipulate that because all it takes is this group of people to buy a bunch of them on the lower end, have a high-end sale, a triggering event, and then boom, guess what happens? Everybody wants to jump in at that lower end. And the couple $100,000 that they paid for the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, now it's $1 million. Now it's $1.5 million. Because the price of them has gone up exponentially 3, 4, 5, 6 times what they were selling for. I'm not saying it happened here. I'm trying to use that card just so that we can have an example that kind of, shows with the price increase how easy it would be for something like that to happen. And if you're sitting on the sidelines not thinking about this potentially happening in the background, you're just thinking, wow, that card has taken off. Look at the card ladder chart of the PSA 8. The chart is like this. There's a little spike the last World Cup. It's down, and now it's like this. It's like into the stratosphere. It's the most inorganic looking thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not saying people aren't paying 43, 45, 48 for the 8s now. They probably are. They probably are thinking that, well, if a 9 sold for 100 and something and a 10 sold for this, well, this has got to be this. And guess what? Sometimes that carries a card. And we may see that card continue that way. I'm telling you, hypothetically, something like this, which would be illegal, could be happening in the background. Just positing that as a potential thing that happens. Another little thing, and we talked about, people kind of buying and selling to each other on the top of the house. It's not anymore, but eBay had a 0% selling, 0% fee for selling when they were trying to get stuff into their vault. And, Fanatics and Golden, they have different deals with different consigners. And there are consignment shops that, if you sell your card through them, their rate with these auction houses for higher end cards is significantly less than, the 20%, the full fee that common Joes like me sell. That's why sometimes I sell using a consigner. I mean, talking about 4%, 3% in some instances, right? Well, let's just use 5% for easy math here, right? Let's say you consign a card and you're getting 95% of the full final price back. You can sign a card, you're getting 95% of it. Well, it's a $20,000 card. You can bid $20,000 on that card and protect it and make sure that if someone gets that card, they have to bid more than $20,000. Because hell, if you have to buy the card back, it only costs you $1,000. Now think about doing that a different way. Let's say you have a card that's $10,000. But you want it to be a $20,000 card. You bid it up to $20,000 and it sells for $20,000 and you pay for it for $20,000 because you're going to get 19 of that back. Now you're into that $10,000 card, 10,000 plus 1. The 1,000 it cost you to buy your own card back. Your cost basis is $11,000, but you now have a public comp on that card of $20,000. Your cost into it is 11. Maybe you could take it to a show and sell it to a repacker for 80% and make $5,000. I'm not saying this happens. I'm saying it could happen very, very easily. And these are kind of the things that my brain starts thinking about when you see charts as inorganic and as flying as they are. You see things that just don't look like they make sense to me. And my brain starts to think about what people can do to start making those charts look like that, what people might be doing in the background. Think about that again, right? You have a card that you paid $10,000 for. You can list it in an auction house, all right? And you can bid it up, just takes 2 people, to $20,000. And if you've sent it in with a consigner who pays you 95% of what the card sells for, you're paying 20, you're going to get 19 back. It now costs you $1,000, which you add on to the 10 it cost you. Now you're into that card for 11, and you have a card that has a $20,000 comp. Now, the flip side to this is, who cares? $20,000 comp. No one was willing to pay $20,000 for it. It's gone back and forth. You were the one who had to bid it up to that $20,000. With today's market the way that it is, that's now a $20,000 public comp. Other people are going to see it. They're going to see your card sold for 20. They're going to mark their stuff up. They're going to see the way this goes. And now the next one, you pay 10, might go for 14, 15, 16, because that one went for 20. People will think paying 14 is a bargain. I only mention this not because I have any evidence at all that it's happening by anyone out there. I mention it because it's the first thing that my brain starts to think of when markets start to fly. That I want to make sure you guys are thinking about the potential that this happens, that this is going on out there, and act accordingly. It happens all over the place. It's not just a card-specific thing. It happens everywhere. Do I have any evidence that it's happening here? Absolutely not. Other than the fact that those charts, if you take a look at them, look kind of weird, look kind of inorganic. And what I'm positing here is one potential explanation for some of the price action that we're seeing. I have 50 other examples of this. But for today, this way no one's mind explodes, I'm just throwing it out there. This way you start to think about some of these things the way that I think about them. I hope I didn't just waste 12 minutes of your time. I'm sure everybody is above board. And also, I do have to say, I'm sure 99.9% of the people who are listening to this are above board. And 99.9% of the people in the space are above board. Like every place else, right? I'm sure this is the kind of stuff that potentially is going on out there. And you should just be mindful of it when you look at charts and prices and comps, especially in a space like ours, where we're so comp driven, where one sale, one announcement, one, big, look at this, can change the landscape entirely. You've seen it happen before. Just a fun topic to chat about. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Talk to you guys soon. This episode of The Hobby with Cage brought to you by Arena Club and Bleecker Trading and whatever conspiracy theorists are out there. I should have got my aluminum foil, my tinfoil hat again and put it on for this one. Take care, everybody. We'll talk soon.